Chapter 31, Aether, Debriefing 1. Samus and Spike each paused to take a drink while the listeners marveled at the description of the fight against Amorbus and the recovery of the energy. Discord was the first to speak up. What would have happened if you tried to leave a region while the energy was still in the transfer module? No idea, Samus replied. Didn't try it. Amorbus sounds fascinating, Twilight breathed. From the sound of it, it was a creature native to Dark Aether, but not an Aang. It sounds like a fascinating ecosystem. Pity it gets blown up then, huh? Rainbow asked. What? Pinky demanded. How do you know the story ahead of time? That's my shtick. Rainbow smirked. Weren't you listening, Pinky? The Luminos plan was to take all the planetary energy back, because without it Dark Aether would cease to exist. Samus isn't possessed by an Aang, so that means she succeeded in that mission, so Dark Aether went boom. I guess that's not much of a spoiler, Spike admitted. Verily, Luna agreed. Besides, the story of how is still quite enthralling, even if we know where it is going. Taking the hint with a chuckle, Samus continued the tale. Once back in Temple grounds, Spike once more took to the air. Gonna see what else I can find for you, he replied. Might find something useful, especially if I duck between Light Aether and Dark Aether. How are you going to open Dark Aether portals? Samus asked. You don't have a dark beam. Not only that, I don't think your fire breath is close enough to light energy to activate the portals back. Spike smirked. I did a deep scan on my dark mode, he explained. While I can't weaponize it, I generate dark energy when I enter dark mode, and light energy when I change back. It won't damage any enemies, but it will be enough to activate portals back and forth if I've got a claw against the rift as I shift. Samus managed to smile. Alright. Have fun, and be careful. As Samus reached the Great Temple, Spike caught up to her. Found quite a bit, he stated. Took a brief check back in Aegon to see if we missed anything. Opening the front compartment of his armor plate, he poured out numerous expansions, including a beam ammo expansion, and 2 charge combos for her arm cannon. They were the Sunburst and Darkburst, for the light and dark beam respectively, both of which creating a slow moving burst of highly charged elemental energy. Very nice, Samus mused as she equipped everything to her suit. Let's go see Umos. Back at the Great Temple Energy Controller, Umos was quite pleased to see them. I thank you both for restoring energy to the Aegon Temple, he said softly, speaking slightly accented Galactic Standard for Spike's benefit, since he wasn't as fluent in Chozo as Samus was. Your valor honors the Luminoth, those who have passed, and those who await a world safe to awaken it. And it seems you have gathered some of our warriors' equipment, which has aided you in your quest. He turned to Spike. And you, young dragon, have found a way to adapt to Dark Aether most excellently. The adaptability of dragons is always a marvel. Samus nodded her head. It's only the beginning, Umos, she replied. I intend to repay my debt. I won't rest until Aether is safe, and the Aang are no more. Spike chuckled. This is certainly going to be a fun journey, he added. Be on guard, Umos warned. The Aang do not suffer defeat lightly, and they will seek revenge against you. And young dragon, guard your emotions, especially those of the beast inside you. The darker your thoughts, the more easily the Aang can slip past your defenses. Your mind is strong enough to fight off such possession, but do not be reckless. Spike frowned, lowering his eyes. Samus turned towards him in concern, but Umos continued his speech. With the energy gone from the desert region, they will increase their efforts in other lands, Umos explained. From what I have detected, they are actively moving to reinforce the Torvus region. I believe it would be to your advantage to go there next, whilst their forces are still in disarray. Umos then turned to Spike. The swamplands of Torvus and Aether are treacherous, and will hinder your mother's progress. You are already adapted for aquatic movement. Support each other as best you both can. But beware the dark waters of the Shadow World, your armor will provide no protection against it, and you are not adapted to that world enough to survive it. Spike nodded in understanding. I'll be careful, Spike promised. I don't intend to die here after Mom promised so much to keep me alive." Umos nodded acknowledgement. "Seek the Temple of Torvis. More knowledge awaits you there." He then raised his arms ceremonially. "May the light of Aether serve you well." Nodding acknowledgement to his words, Samus and Spike headed for Torvis Bog. Once out of the Grand Temple, Spike smiled. "I've already plotted out the path to the Torvis Bog transport," he pointed out. "Follow my lead." He promptly took to the air. While Spike's aerial path was straightforward, Samus was forced to duck back and forth between Aether and Dark Aether a few times through conveniently placed rifts. Spike took care of the possessed pirates that lined part of the path. An aerial blast of flame breath took them down in a single hit once they were possessed. With that, the pair entered Torvis Bog.